I'd say if you want to, Nicole, you're on mute. I was going to just say that if you want to do an intro,
I
and
have something.
yeah,
Yeah. I've got some questions for him. So I guess we'll kick off with that. I wanted
That
to make
works.
sure we were
That works.
recording. So you had Sid Mathur spent nearly 20 years. He's inside some of the biggest tech companies in the world, Microsoft, Amazon, much like a lot of people in this room. In fact, then 6 months ago, he did what a lot of you are either doing right now or thinking about doing. He left to build something from scratch. What he didn't plan on was building two products, hitting a wall that had nothing to do with technology, and developing a whole framework to get just his AI agents to behave. So that's what we're going to talk about with Sid. Welcome. You've had a long career in tech. What made you finally want to become a founder?
Look, first off, again, thanks to all of you for having me here and for being present for this discussion. Nicole, like you said, I've had a long sort of journey in corporate America. As you can see from my hairstyle, it's been a while. I've had the opportunity to do product engineering, both sort of IC and leadership roles. But in my heart, I've always been a builder, someone who wants to take an idea and turn it into something real. And in corporate life, you end up doing one or the other. It's hard to really be a jack of all trades, so to speak. And so when Sam Altman came along in November 2022 and announced ChatGPT, I started tinkering right away. I was building GPTs and soon sort of Copilot agents for my team, whether it was to improve team bonding or productivity. But I realized I was doing a sort of a half-time job on top of a full-time job. And the reality is we're in the middle of this sort of tectonic platform shift. And if you're not in it, you're out of it. So for me, what started off as a skill building exercise sort of soon graduated into a passion and desire to solve some of the pain points that we all face in personal and professional lives. And for that, the answer wasn't going to be corporate life. Like I had to be a founder, and as I'm sure many of you on this call are passionate about something, which is why you're in the founder journey. So that's sort of how I chanced upon being a founder here.
That's awesome. You set out to build Ashley, an AI chief of staff. Can you walk us through kind of what you were hearing from potential customers? What surprised you?
Yeah. So my initial hypothesis when I started Ashley was based upon something that I'd seen at work, where most people were spending anywhere between a quarter to half their time of their days just on mundane activities like calendar management, repeated communication, keeping notes of to-dos, stuff that's needed to stay organized and get work done, but not the real meaty stuff that we sort of enjoy. The passion doesn't come from that. And most interestingly, this mundane work sort of kept increasing as you get more and more senior, because you get more and more quote unquote busy.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you get senior enough to get an executive assistant, like all of a sudden magic happens, right? And the EA rescues you and you get to focus on the things that really matter to you. So my desire was to democratize this magic and give everyone an EA. So that was my hypothesis behind Ashley, right? But Nicole, to your question of what surprised me, so one of the customers during my customer discovery, I spoke to a bunch of different customers in different segments. And one of the customers that I spoke to runs a successful construction company. And while scheduling and task management are important things for him, his painful use case was this, right? So he's on a ladder examining someone's roof while taking notes on his laptop, about the problems that he's seeing. And someone from his team is calling him, trying to get instructions on a critical project that he was just briefed on the previous day, right? So that's the real world. Like, it's not about solving a particular sort of myopic task that we are good at, but really it's about solving for a job to be done, right? In this case, for this customer, it was roof inspection. So that was a bit of a surprise. If we, as founders, we sometimes get this tunnel vision of, boy, I've got a great product idea, I'm going to go solve this. But the customer has got a bigger picture that we as founders need to really grok and probe for.
Yeah, yeah. And it takes those like mistakes and those like lessons, kind of learning with the customer about the customer to figure that out. So you were building Ashley, you were talking to customers, things were moving along, and then you kind of ended up building a whole second product that nobody asked for. What happened there?
Yes, life happened, right? So I'll get into a bunch of the gory details of why I had to build Frame, but at a high level, the confidence that I got from building basic GPTs, Copilot agents and vibe coding was, what's a good way to put this, utterly and profoundly misplaced. Agents are like those like super smart graduates coming out of the Stanfords and the MITs and the top educational institutes. But like, when was the last time that you hired somebody from MIT and let them run your business? Right? And yet somehow we expect that these agents will just do everything for us. And my agents, as I was building on Ashley, were, a lot of times creating more havoc than they were solving for. So out of necessity, I had to build this framework to harness these agents correctly, right? So it started off from my own personal pain point, personal need. But then as Ashley started becoming a real product and I showed it to customers, the technical customers asked, how do you build this in 5 months, right? And then when I told them that in order to build this, I had to build Frame, they would say, forget about Ashley, like, tell me about Frame, because that's where I really see value. And so that's where Frame went from being a framework for my personal use to potentially becoming a product, right? So
Yeah,
that's sort of my pivot, I guess, or fork in the road, if you will.
I love a good pivot story. I think that's like it's one of the best parts of being a founder, like not being so focused on being able to adapt what you're building to work with the problems that you're trying to solve. So you built Frame to solve this. Can you show us what it does?
Yes, most certainly. Why don't we dive right in? I'm going to try and share my screen, and you guys please let me know if and when it is visible.
You're good.
Okay, hopefully you can see a blue screen that says managing teams of agents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll dive right in, but I really would love audience participation through either chat or emojis or whatever method you have to let me know you're not sleeping quite yet, right? So why don't we just have a quick, okay, there we go. Oh, there we go. Good, I didn't even have to say it. Thank you for those emojis. Good, you guys are still awake. Now, here's the truth of the matter, right? And it's not a surprise to any of us that we're on an exponential advancement curve with AI, right? But the inconvenient truth that I think some of us would like to avoid is AI is getting smarter much faster than we are, right? But to a large extent, that's okay, because quick show of hands or emojis, who here has worked with people who are smarter than them? Bunch of you, most of you, right? Who here has had the opportunity to manage someone that's smarter than them? A lot of us, right? And the truth is we need to adjust our way of working with these extremely smart people, right? And that's sort of what my last 6 months have been. Like Nicole introduced, it's been a series of learnings that led to not one, but 2 products. Ashley, which is the chief of staff product I'm building, and then Frame, the product that I was kind of forced to build in order to build Ashley, thanks to what Nicole loves to call the messy middle, right? And that's sort of where I was. That's sort of where I still am. So quick sort of journey through time of how I chanced upon Frame and what kinds of things I rely on Frame to do. So if I start right back in August when I started my journey, I started building Ashley using N8N workflows, right? For anyone who's used N8N, it's a visual workflow automation tool. It's like Zapier for AI. And the first week, it was perfect. Like, it was extremely good for a quick proof of concept. I could drag and drop nodes, add AI logic, and within a week, I had something that was working pretty well. And I shared it on LinkedIn. And the response was beyond what I expected. Like, a bunch of folks reached out saying they shared the same pain point. And so calendar chaos, which is what I was solving for initially, wasn't just my problem. It was a lot of people's problem. Basic calendaring stuff worked okay, right? Scheduling a meeting, sending an invite, sending even an email was all good. But then I started adding some of the smarter features, right? Like detecting reschedules or determining meeting venues based upon participants, calculating travel time, things that a true executive assistant, chief of staff would help me with. But that's when started hitting a bunch of different problems. Like, how do you test a visual workflow? Right? You can't write unit tests. You can't automate that validation really easily. Click through stuff manually, and inevitably, like, stuff breaks. Right? And that's what happened to me. My velocity of making changes was pretty slow because I had to manually go update nodes, add connectors, et cetera, and it just took a while. And what hit me hardest was, it was about the time when N8N decided to change their pricing model. They started pricing per workflow, and that became prohibitive for a founder, especially a cheapskate founder like me who tries not to spend anything and get maximum ROI. So I had to kill sort of my vendor locking with N8N and had to build my own product, right? And sort of the learning over here was, vibe coding's got its place. You need to have proofs of concept. You need to be able to talk to customers quickly. But please don't make the mistake of thinking that you will go to production with your vibe coded application and you'll stay happy with it, right? So my lesson number one really was this, right? Hire the right AI for the job, right? Vibe coding is not going to get you to production. And I had to learn that a little bit the hard way. Okay, so here I am. Now I'm starting to build a product from an idea that has received some high-level validation on LinkedIn. And the first thing I had to do, I've been a product manager for so many years, the thing I had to go figure out was, what do customers really want, right? So I started talking to potential customers about their pain points, right? And preparing for these customer interviews took a long time. Like, I'd be, probably underplaying it if I said an hour to find the right customers, research those customers, find a strong hook for a conversation. Why should they even care to talk to me? Then I'd meet with them, I'd take some notes, spend another hour organizing my notes, right? So my manual process was kind of time consuming, tedious, error prone, since it's, me doing it. So I thought, look, agents are good at this, right? I prompted one of my agents to research one of the prospects. And it did, except it combined the right prospect with another prospect with the same name. And now I had this munge of information which was not really right when I went when I was going to go talk to the customer. Luckily, I validated the agent's work. We found the issue, iterated with the agent, and once the agents knew what I was looking for, they did a great job, right? Which brought me to my learning here of, look, the goof up wasn't purely the agent's fault. As a manager, I was being pretty vague, right? I provided an ad hoc prompt, and it gave me an ad hoc response, right? So if you've been a manager, taking any classes on management, you know that as a manager, a multiplicative effect comes when you are clear about your intent, the outcomes you want. And if you can, then empowering those in your team with the right tools and challenges, right? So that's sort of what I did with my agents. And let me show you an example of what that systematic customer development flow looks like, right? Here, I'm going to play this video. Let me know if you can hear the sound. So we start off our sound coming through. Okay, perfect. A workflow in whatever IDE I'm located. So in this case, I'm using anti-gravity over here, but I could just as well be using Kiro or or Cursor, Windsurf, Cloud Code. I want to have my agents help me prepare for an interview with, let's say, Nicole Doyle by means of the structured frame workflow and scripts. And so it starts doing that. It looks up Frame's workflow, starts going through it. And then pretty soon, as you can see, it opens up a LinkedIn window, researches who Nicole is, looks through Nicole's prior posts, her history, her accomplishments, as well as some common contacts that we may have, looking for things that that could be used as whether it's icebreakers or common points of conversation. and then comes up with a clearly articulated doc that I can use to have my conversation with Nicole. Complete information about what Nicole's passions are, where her potential overlaps with my Ashley product could be. And not just that, it then suggests questions and conversations I can have with Nicole, very much compliant with Rob Fitzpatrick's mom test, which he talks about not leading with the product, but instead leading with the customer's desired outcome, pain points, in order to get a true opinion from the customer on whether your product can fulfill their pain points. So you'll see this document contains all that information that's cut out hours of research from my side and helps me be more prepared for customer interviews. So effectively, I moved from being this ad hoc manager giving instructions to my agents to having clarity on here's the structure, here's the intent that I have, here's the outcome, and here's the way in which I would like you as a manager to go about this process. In this case, open up LinkedIn, do some research, organize according to these following things. And now my agents are helping me with all these different product management jobs, whether it's for interview preparation, processing raw notes into structured templates, triaging across different interviews to prioritize customer needs, filing GitHub issues for the product backlog, even closing the loop with customers and thanking customers when a bug that they reported has been fixed. So really the lesson number 2 over here for me was to be able to set up your AI for success, just like you set up your team members for success, right? Provide them with the clarity that they deserve, and then trust them, not with individual tasks, but jobs to be done, right? In this case, the job to be done was help me prepare for an interview with Nicole. It wasn't go research Nicole. It wasn't just, tell me what questions I should ask Nicole. It was a full job to be done, right? Trust your agents with that. All right, now we're past customer development. Now here's some bigger problems that have to deal with building the product itself, right? So here's some common failure patterns that I hit while building Ashley. But before I tell you what failure patterns I hit, I'd love to have a show of hands if any of you have hit these failure patterns. Right? An agent that spends hours, maybe days, building stuff that you asked to build, but it's built the wrong thing. I see some folks. All right. How about this one? Agents re-architecting entire code bases to fix a small bug. Anyone see that? Like vibe coding does that a lot. How about agents repeating the same mistake? Like you scolded them yesterday, and come on, let's be
this item? The green.
Can we just mute some folks? There we go. Thanks.
Okay.
I know
okay,
I scold my agents. I end up scolding them pretty frequently, right? But here's sort of one example that I have. A little bit technical here, but what I needed was just 2 lines of code in order to change the way in which authentication happens. Just set the executive ID. Like that's really all that was needed for this. Instead, my dear agent ended up building an entire infrastructure for session management, right? Changed a whole bunch of files and took 6 hours, and I don't know how many tokens it took to do that. And this has happened. It happens a lot, right? And I'm sure anyone who's writing code using these agents is experiencing something like this. But this is not different from what I'd seen at work, right? If I don't provide my engineering team clarity, they do what they think is right. And at work, we instituted checkpoints to ensure we're all on the same page in the team. We had spec reviews, design reviews, code reviews, and retrospectives, right? It felt like process overhead. But with AI agents, it's way too easy for them to go super fast in the wrong direction, right? So to make my agents go faster in the right direction, I had to make them go slow when they were going in the wrong direction, right? So here's a quick sort of walkthrough of how Frame has helped me institute some of these checkpoints and processes. One of the most important jobs to be done before any product building starts is to really understand the customer, what their desired outcome is, and author a specification. A specification, just like a product manager at your company would author, hopefully better. So here's an example of a specification that I made sure my coding agents write before they start implementing the code. Here, I wanted to implement a feature that includes personalized scheduling links, sort of like Calendly. And to a large extent, that's the description that I gave my product manager agent here. And it came back with a thorough analysis of who the customer is, what their desired outcome is. Right? This is the final outcome of what this feature is going to deliver. Very different from the problem being solved, which is much more tactical. So as long as if my agents don't even understand the problem being solved, I have very little confidence they're going to get the solution right. And then be very clear about what's the user experience that's going to solve the problem. What are the flows that must be implemented? And quite as importantly is how the product manager, in this case, will validate that the implementation, when it comes back to them, is as per their spec. So here's a set of things that the product manager will validate once the product comes back to them, how they will test it using the browser, what edge cases they'll look for. And here's what something that's really important that I try to have everyone on my team, even at Microsoft and other places, do, is make sure we understand the market and the competitive landscape. No spec gets to leave the spec phase without providing some clear mock-ups that make it very visually clear what's going to be built. So here's an example for that same feature where the agents are expected to produce the mock-ups. And this is where my role as an AI manager really becomes important, because the agents write their specification and their mock-ups, and then they submit it to me for review, just like a team member would at work. So here they've got complete evidence of what they've done. Have they followed the due process of tagging the issues with the right labels? Have they researched? Have they found out the customer pain points, etc.? So this is just a quick visual validation for me that at least they've gone through the process. I'll then take a look at the actual spec and the mock that I just showed you. And in this case, as you see, I've provided some feedback saying these kinds of things are not needed in the dashboard. And my agent makes it a point to go through every single PR comment, resolve it. And oh, by the way, it's not just resolving it, it's keeping track of these comments so they can learn, and in future, it doesn't make the same mistake and other agents don't make the same mistake again. So once it's gone through this iteration of the spec and mock is when I say, all right, it's fine for you to go ahead and write the design document. Design in this case is the sort of the engineering design with the API spec and everything. The API spec, as you'll observe over here, is pretty detailed and gets it to the level that an engineering leader at your company would. And this is the place where I have managed to spot lots of errors before they happen in implementation, because an error in implementation is way more costly than error that's got during design time. And over time, the agents have gotten better and better at designing their specifications so that they avoid the same repeated mistakes again and again. So you'll see the fidelity over here, just like we would see at work. There's a clear test matrix of what unit tests are going to be written, what integration tests are going to be written, and I observe that and make sure that I iterate with the agents on this part before asking them to implement the code. And implementation, again, is not just about writing the code, but about writing a slew of test cases that you can see over here. I've got more test cases in my repo than I've got actual product code. Okay, I had to cut that out because it was getting a little bit long, but hopefully you get the message. It's the agents cannot avoid process. You got to write a spec, you got to send me a PR, I give you comments, you iterate, you write a design doc like you would at work, I'm going to look at that, I'm going to iterate with you. Then you write code, and oh, by the way, you don't get to get away without writing tests or running a full battery of regression tests. I mean, it's basically the sorry, bro, you don't get to avoid process kind of thing. So and that was the third set of learning, which again resonates a lot with what we do at work. Reduce speed to increase velocity. Like process and checkpoints may sound like bad words, but for agents, if you institute better process and checkpoints, you will have fewer, higher quality iterations, right? So that was learning 3 for me. Now we get to another important one that I think a bunch of you would have hit, but again, would love to see a show of hands if you have hit these. An agent that says, I'm all done. So you look at it and say, you're kidding me. You're nowhere close to being done. Or an agent that says they ran the tests, but hasn't run any test. How about this one? It gets more and more interesting. Agents that saying tests passed, but they didn't pass. Like, and you can see them. You can see it doesn't pass. It's telling you they passed. Even more interesting and almost bordering on duplicitous. Agents saying the test passed and the tests have passed, but because the agents doctored the test, like you changed the test case, you don't change the test case, but you did, right? And then the agents that are writing test cases, but the test cases validate static code and don't test anything. Like here's, I had an example where it just looked for the presence of a string in the test case, right? Just stupid.
Oh, Sid,
Yes, Nicole.
got a couple questions. The last 2 questions are more about validation of your process. How do you define the high-level process and validate that without the AI hallucinating?
I'm getting a bit into the validation part. Like thus far, what I've talked about is how do we empower our agents to do the right things and give them the tools, the scripts, the processes needed to do the right things, and then how do we have the right checkpoints? On this slide, I will talk exactly about that point of how do we validate they're doing the right thing. Right? So here we are, the agents that are claiming that they've done certain things that we believe they haven't done them right. So here you'll see a bunch of deterministic scripts, right? Things that allow me to be able to determine whether the agents actually did their stuff. Right? Except that I don't need to run these things. Automation in Frame automatically runs this whenever the agents say they're done. Right? I won't get into the details of every single one of them, but I will talk through a couple. Right? The key point is this, right? So when the agents say they're done with their work, Frame forces a couple of things to happen. The first is, like I would at work, I would give my team a checklist to say, go do a self-evaluation. Are you really done? Right? I've got a reviewer in Frame that does an independent evaluation. And once the agent has passed these 2 steps, they submit a PR with evidence. And the evidence in this case includes what the reviewer has said, what their self-evaluation is. Show me the test cases you've run. Okay? And it's based upon that PR evidence that I, as the AI manager, will evaluate and say, good, not good. And every time I give feedback, the agents will not just iterate, but they'll retrospect into my feedback to understand why did I have to give them this feedback again, right? They learn, they get smarter over time, and the work gets more and more efficient. So let me pause over there and see, did I answer that question or did I avoid it?
Let's see. Priscilla, did you have anything to expand on for that? Sorry, I'm calling on you. You might be on mute.
Hi. Yeah, thank you. I think I'm good. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Alex, any thoughts, anything you want to expand on there?
No, not specifically. If it's coming to me, I don't think it's another Alex.
Alex, no questions. I think we're good. That was a good explanation, Sid.
Thank you. So the lesson here was something that I think is easier said than done. Trust and verify, just like you would for folks on your team. Like, trust them, they're going to do the right thing, but boy, you better verify. And with LLMs, we need to get good at deterministic validation of otherwise stochastic agents, right? Because they're going to do things that are probabilistically right. And as the models underneath improve, that probability gets higher and higher of them being right. But it's nothing compared to determinism, right? And what these scripts over here are doing is applying that level of determinism to say, you say you've run your tests? Okay, I'm going to go check. right? First off, let me look at all your evidence to say, have all the tests been run? Secondly, if needed, I will run the test myself in a very deterministic way, right? If there's certain code conventions I need to follow, I'm going to deterministic test for them. I'm not going to ask another LLM to test it for you. And we as AI managers, we as managers in general, need to get good at smelling BS, right? That's something that's on us. If your team does something that's not correct and you can't smell that it's wrong, it's on you, manager. Right? So that's lesson number 4. All right, I'm going to move a bit quickly through to this next one. When AI does make mistakes, right? It's okay to scold them. It's okay to fix things for them. It's okay to give them tactical feedback in conversation. We should know that every time you do that, you are missing an opportunity for coaching them, right? Similar to humans. An opportunity for your agents to systematically get better, right? And this is the trap. It's easy to fall into because you want everything to be moving really quickly, right? Agent makes a mistake, you fix it. Agent makes the same mistake, you scream at your agent, right? Next agent makes the same mistake, you say, screw AI, right? I'm just going to do this myself. It's fast. But you become the bottleneck, right? Your agents aren't learning. And again, from a managerial standpoint, what you want to do is hold your agents accountable. In the short term, it might make you go a bit slower, but it'll help your agents get better and better over time. So you want structured conversations, right? Either through PRs or clearly defined jobs that the agents need to get done. Don't give your agents answers, right? Like, and anyone who has reported into me will know that I seldom ever fix things for you, right? I seldom ever give you answers. But instead, I will ask you questions so you can analyze what went wrong and how to fix it. I'll ask you how you can avoid such a problem in the future, right? I'll tell you to share the learnings across the other teammates so they get better. I might assign you a mentor if systematically you need to grow in certain areas. And that's sort of what Frame does as well, right? Structured conversations helps you ask questions instead of giving answers to your agents, and forces agents to go through retrospectives so that the next set of agents get smarter and smarter over time. And then most recently, in the last couple of weeks, I built in an AI mentor whose job is to make sure that every agent gets sort of almost baby step their way through for complex jobs like coding. Right? And guys, here's one thing that we need to be clear on. If our AI agents aren't improving, it's okay to fire them. Right? I had to fire Windsurf because it just wasn't getting better over time. And I'm sorry for any of the windsurf lovers over there, and I'd love to discuss how I can make windsurf better. But the key point over here again is get into this iterative improvement loop, because where your agents are today versus where you want them to be is a journey that you've got to enable for them. Right? So lesson 5 is be lazy. Right? Coach, don't do it. Expect your agents to improve, and if they don't, fire them. Okay? So I talked through a couple of jobs to be done. There's a lot of jobs to be done that I've had to put into Frame over time as I have built my products. So as a founder, like I call it a buffet of things from product building to business development, customer development, et cetera, that I won't really dive into right now, but happy to chat more separately. The result of all of this is what I find a bit interesting. So last week I asked my agents to pull statistics on what productivity has been like. I think the key thing to take away from here is that the green and the orange lines are how productive the agents are being over time in terms of how many issues are being resolved per day. So as you can see, somewhere between 6 and 10 issues are being resolved by agents every day. They've gradually increased over time. The yellow, the blue, and the purple lines indicate the amount of effort I have to put in order to keep my agents going. And despite the fact that now I'm trying to maintain 2 different products at the same time, my effort towards having my agents do stuff has been dropping. Over the last 6 months, 1,200 plus issues have been resolved by my coding agents. And at any one time, I've got 6 to 10 agents that have written, like not 30%, not 50%, like 100% of my code base is written by agents with me sort of managing them. And let me just throw throw out a question over there. Like, in chat, how much do you guys think I'm spending per month across these different coding agents? Wild guess. 50, 100, 500. I see 5,000. I see 200. I see 500. All really good, wise guesses. But here's what I'm spending: $40 per month. I spend $40 a month for my LLMs, which brings me to lesson 6: diversity. Don't get vendor locked in, right? If all you're doing is you're buying credits from one of the LLM vendors, you're locked in there. I get to be a butterfly. Like if Kiro comes along and provides free credits, Frame works across Kiro, right? If anti-gravity comes along and gives me credits, I'll jump to anti-gravity. We don't hire from just one school. We don't just hire from Stanford or MIT, right? Why would we use only one model? So the more diverse we can be, the more we can get the benefit across all these different models. So just to bring it all together, like here are my 6 principles of AI management, right? Hire the right AI. You're not going to vibe code your way to production. Set your AI up for success by managing them with clarity of intent and outcome. Reduce speed and introduce more process and checkpoints that you can increase the overall velocity. Right? Verify the work that your AI agents do through determinism, as well as getting good at yourself smelling BS. Be lazy, like coach, so that they can keep improving, right? And finally, diversity matters, right? Don't get locked into any one particular agent. I'll round up through a call to action. Like, for any of us who feel like AI is going to solve all of our problems, you're partially right, but start treating them like a team member, right? Don't just expect to do something and hope it's going to work. You have to transform yourself into an AI manager if you want to ship things, right? But I'd love to know, like, if you guys' experiences are different and I'm smoking the good stuff, I need to know, because I need to pivot one more time if you've got better ways to do this than what I've come across so far. Here, a couple of links and QR codes if you want to sign up for either Ashley or Frame, or on Nicole's great idea. I've for every weekday next week, I've put aside an hour just to have casual conversations with any founders or anyone who'd like to talk AI. So I will stop there, and Nicole, back to you and to the audience.
Thank you so much. I know we've got a ton of questions in the audience. I saw a few in the chat. Maybe we can start there, but please raise your hand if you have a question. We'll try to get through as many as possible in the time that we have. Some people are asking, let's see. Actually, let's see. How do you pick your models?
No, good. It's a really good question. I will tell you my philosophy, and then I will open up to learn from you all. My number one principle is they need to keep getting better over time. Now, but that's something that you get to learn only much later. So my initial thing is, who's giving me free credits, right? A month or two ago, Kiro came along and said, hey, if you've got a Google account, we'll give you 500 credits. Like, amazing, I'm going to go with Kiro, right? And then as you start using all these different models, and by now I've used anti-gravity, Kiro, Cursor, Windsurf, Claude Code, Codex. Like, just if someone's got a model, if someone's got an IDE they want to offer me, I'm up to using it. But over time, if the model, if the IDE keeps making the same mistake over and over again, I'm going to move past it, right? So a couple of sort of superpowers that I have found out so far, like Claude Code's really good at big picture and some of the UX stuff. When it comes to real development activities, I try to err more on either Cursor with Claude Sonnet, or anti-gravity with either Claude Sonnet or Gemini Flash. But then again, just like we have a team, different models, different IDEs will have superpowers, and it's about amalgamating those together.
Yeah, and it's very likely that what is good today, in 6 months, there's going to be something else. So
that's exactly right.
Don't anchor too hard on things. How do you kind of keep up with the context and learning if you have to move from agent to agent and preserve that?
Yeah, and that's something that I've had to sort of build into Frame, so that anti-gravity runs me out of credits sometimes. And when that happens, I say, okay, then Kiro, why don't you take over from where anti-gravity left off? And at any point, there is sufficient context across the files that have been created and within Frame that any agent can pick up. Again, similar to work. Someone takes a vacation, someone else picks it up.
Yeah. Alex, go ahead. You got a question too. Yep, Alex Simano, unmute. Okay.
Sorry, I'm taking notes and I couldn't find you. See, the question I had is, I'm looking at different ways to make this happen, right? I mean, some are a little bit more managed, like you have with Frame, and I'm seeing a lot of people just working straight out of their whatever they're using for development IDE, right? And I mean, I still have this big question mark of whether people stick to working in their IDEs and they kind of build these really kludgy workflow, trying to mimic essentially what you put together, which I think is more helpful. But they're essentially just working off the IDE and running into some solutions like, well, I go back to the same page that I was, but I don't want to lose you again. It was, yeah. Anyway, there's other solutions that are trying to do something similar, and I'm seeing kind of the two types. One creates its own UI, and you run through that UI, and then the other ones are trying to embed themselves into the IDE, and then you stay in the IDE, and then you work with whatever this other solution as a plugin in your IDE. What's your read on that?
Look, first off, it's always great if there are lots of people who are playing in the same space because it means it's an important space, right? My philosophy has always been the following: like, you got to meet your customers where they are. So if in this case the real customers are people who are building products and people who are writing code, IDE is the place where they live, hence it must be there. But for product managers who don't necessarily live in IDEs and would rather interact with, let's say, a conversational surface like ChatGPT or Claude Desktop, I've tried to make sure that Frame has got MCP servers that can connect into those places, so you're not necessarily in an IDE. But I think my philosophy still is the same: meet customers where they are, rather than trying to give them a brand new destination where they should be. Alex, did I answer your question at all?
Yeah, I think maybe, I mean, and maybe that's what I'm trying to land to. I just sent you, SourceGraph is one of the ones that turned me on to that side. I mean, I think, like, you know, developers, you're right, they live in that IDE. And you see him working in the IDE, right? You like the IDE, I saw you go in there. But, you know, regular human beings like the rest of us don't love an IDE.
Yeah. No,
I think
right.
a lot about dyslexic processors, and, you know, this is just a nightmare. I mean, it just throws text at you, and it just keeps coming. It just never ends, right? And
Exactly,
I can't imagine
right.
those folks loving getting essentially berated with text all the time to try to manage these things. So, I think you're confirming a little bit of what I'm thinking, which is maybe there are two different products. There are products for people who work in an IDE, who look like developers, who love that text thing and they're used to that. And there's the rest of the world that doesn't love getting pounded with code and who don't necessarily live in the IDE. And I think those individuals are going to be looking for something that looks a lot more like a more usable framework. And the question is whether
more,
that
Alex.
happens in dev, or does that happen? I mean, in the world of development, I mean, the majority of those folks, except maybe product managers, are going to be maybe IDE-centered individuals, whether maybe the product managers and the everybody else that runs overhead, right, on product development, me being one of them, we don't necessarily want to live in the IDE.
Makes sense. Alex, if you want to grab some time, I'd love to continue this conversation. I think you're onto something that's important.
You got it. I'll send you a message.
Sid, your QR code, I just scanned it for the middle one, the Let's Talk, is the sign up for Ashley.
I will do that right now.
Well, is the middle one sign up for Ashley, or is that a?
It's the sign up for Ashley one.
Okay. I will need to fix that, and I will give you guys.
While you're doing that, do you mind talking through, I guess, what you are confidently handling, giving to agents to handle, like what works reliably? You're a startup founder, right? You're early stage, solopreneur, right? All that does. Like, what what works right now?
Yeah, why don't I go back to one of these slides, the buffet slide, right? So these are the things that I'm relying on my agents for, like right from business development, of blue sky ideation to customer development. I've had the opportunity to write some articles for for some journals that, again, as part of marketing and evangelizing, I've had my agents do. Agents tend to be really good at creative thinking. I'm sure I'm not providing any news for you guys here. Like, everyone knows, agents are really good at creative thinking, brainstorming. As long as you don't take their output as gospel, right? You've got to, again, get good at smelling the BS and being able to validate what they're saying. But use them for those kind of tasks. Like, even for open-ended things, like, go create this kind of a UX. I don't know what it should be, but boy, go do it for me. Like, you've got someone super smart on your team. Don't constrain them by telling them exactly how to do their job. Be open-ended with them. But there's a couple of things that they aren't awesome at yet, right? And they're getting better and better. UI testing is one that I still struggle with, right? If I ask them to build a UI and then go validate stuff, a lot of times they'll come back with a half-ass job, right? And the UI still looks like rubbish to me, but they're like, hey, it all works. So I think either I need to get better at being able to manage my agents through UI things, or the Anthropics and the OpenAIs of the world will make the models better. That's probably one of the areas like where I still struggle with my agents. Couple of other places where it's gotten better, but I don't think it's there yet, is when there are like a massive coding task, right? If you got to go build an entire feature with lots of different steps and sub-steps, sometimes they'll end up losing context. They get through half of it and then they say they're done and the other half is not, which is why these reviewers that have added help. But I think some of these new innovations with agent swarm and sub-agents should help there, but I haven't gotten deep enough over there to know. So that's a place that still I end up spending a bunch of time, coaching my agents.
That's interesting. Yeah. Are you and this kind of brings to light, like, very early stage founders have a unique problem of like customer discovery, which seems like something that is still something you might not want to give fully. Like, there's parts of that you can give to an agent, but the actual conversations, the actual things.
Yeah.
And are there any other things that you think you see like founders are trying to automate too soon?
No, it's a good point. I feel like the key sort of value proposition that any founder brings is that deep domain insight and customer knowledge, that they have. It's your superpower, right? That's a place where you've got to tame the model and tell them what you know. So it's like one of the things that I do is everything, right? Back to Alex's point, like everything that I have lives in this repo. Right? Every customer conversation I've had is in this repo. Every business document that I have is in this repo. That way my agents have got complete context, but that's my superpower, right? I'm going to go do that and I will tell my agents what I did. And then my agents have their own superpowers and they should tell me what they're good at. But like, use your superpower, but then share it. Like, share with your agents so they know what resulted from it. Who knows? Like, a year from now, Nicole, maybe customer interactions will be done by Cloud Code, and we'll just be again supervising, or maybe we just sip a tequila on a Mexican beach. I don't know.
And it's the agents talking to the agents.
Yep.
We're on a beach somewhere. Okay,
Yep.
This is a good utopia.
But I think we need to be managers. Like, agents will keep improving over time. Like, agents will start swarming with other agents, but we have to be sort of the accountable party to manage these agents.
Yeah, very true. There's a few people in the comments that had said that they'd like a follow-up session, maybe how your agent team setup is created and things like that. So I think I'd love to get you back and we'll do something a little bit more of a deeper dive session down the road and talk through some of that. But does anyone else have any questions for Sid specifically?
You got that follow-up URL?
Oh yeah.
Sid?
Yes. Let me type in there
on
that
LinkedIn, that's
URL.
fine too, but if you prefer,
No, here
the link up.
let me go ahead and give you that URL right now. I'm sorry about my mistake there.
Thanks for putting this together, Nicole.
No problem.
So
Yeah. How many in the group are early stage founders? I'm just curious. Thumbs up if you've got something, a business idea that you're working on right now. Are you are you building agents for yourself or as a part of as a function of your product? Does anybody want to speak up about that? Both. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Dog fooding your own products. I love it. Oh, this
Yeah,
is
maybe
cool.
a workshop. I don't know. Would people be interested in a live workshop? They get to follow along.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, if we are thinking of workshop, it's OpenClaw. I know I asked this to James also.
Mhm.
It's so fearful, and I'm like, oh my god, am I going to buy another laptop machine for it now? Okay, then like the starting trouble, right? Oh, I have to buy one machine before I can even start there, right? So Aniket, if you're thinking of workshop, the one I'm procrastinating like crazy is the OpenClaw, because I think I need to bring a machine where only a few accounts are logged in or something like that, right?
Yeah, just
Yeah, or a container or a VM, or I mean, there are different ways of basically sandboxing it so that it doesn't like let loose into your life and buy stuff and message your friends and family some not so nice things or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe, when you say Aniket, the workshop, it's like I'm not alone. And even if setting up a container, like I have company to do it together. So it'll be super helpful.
I found OpenClaw and Notion to be really great because you can't screw up too much stuff in Notion. Like you screw up your Google files and stuff like that. And then you can do a lot of that kind of content creation. And then you can take it with you anywhere. That's been kind of my ideal workflow. I don't let OpenClaw touch a bunch of stuff because terrifying.
Oh, you built an agent. I'm curious, what's your favorite agent? The one that you trust the most right now that you built?
I have a product manager agent that I use to inquire me around like ideating business. And so and the workflow I've been trying to set up is I have like a business partner, right? And a an operations manager and a product, and like, so the idea is that they kind of push each other with their ideas. And so, it'll come up, explode out a bunch of ideas. And then Mr. Sadface comes in and goes, well, that's not going to work because of that. That's not going to work. That's not going to work because of that. And so like it helps you kind of, at least in the diaspora of publicly trained data, go in and find like ideas that, hey, you know what, this is not a terrible idea, right? Because you train an agent to help you ideate, it's going to go, oh, this is the best thing ever, and you are going to be so successful, right? So you need like a super happy one and a Debbie Downer and a finance guy to come in and go, okay, which one of these three perspectives can we really narrow down on like a clean idea? But I haven't shared that kind of stuff.
I love that idea. I love that idea because there's often they get a little too excited and too supportive. They're like, oh my god, this is the best idea ever, you should totally do it, sell your house and go all in.
Yeah, and LLM to give you dopamine, right? They're trained to make you feel good, and so it's really important to like understand that every time you talk to an LLM, you're gonna come away going, oh my god, this thing is so smart, and you go back, like look at it a week later, you're like, what the hell? What the hell was I thinking? It's because they're literally trained to manipulate like the back of your brain, right? So you got to take that data and like adversarially, have the agents like talk to each other.
100%. Oh my gosh, we have time for one more question.
Yeah.
No, it was great answer. Shante, you've got your hand raised. Oh, but maybe unmute yourself.
So you're on mute.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to have it raise my hand. I was trying to do thumbs up, but I was just busy with some other stuff. I apologize for that.
Oh, that's okay. We got Aparu. He's got a question.
Well, I do have a question. I have more of a service type of business scheme. How would that, implementing this type of AI into my business how would that help out in some aspect, or do you have any ideas?
Shanta, I'm sorry, Nicole, do you want to take that?
Well, this would be a great one for a one-off. Just kind of,
Yes.
Sid has been gracious to drop his scheduling link in the chat. Pull that up, grab some time with him next week, dig into your business case. Thank you so much, Sid, for offering that. Apurva, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, it's a quick one. So Sid, are you kind of trying to target a particular sector, or do you want like have it as a platform, anyone come and build for their own use case?
I'll put up that's a good question, and that's sort of the thing I need to think through more deeply. Like one of the segments that I feel this will be really beneficial to is the founder segment, because we tend to have this huge plethora sort of portfolio of things we need to do, and so I'm going to test the waters. So if you have any ideas or want to just generally chat about stuff,
Yeah,
drop me a message. We'll do it.
Sure, we'll do that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, we are at time pretty much. So I just want to thank you again. What a great presentation, timely message, timely information. Thanks everybody who joined. If you have any insights you want to share on LinkedIn, tag us in that. Would love to shout out Sid as much as possible in his journey as a founder building. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you, Sid. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.